Hi again. I was thinking about how not atheists and Christians this time, but how that liberals and conservatives see themselves as being very different. And I was devoting some thought, and hopefully you people can help me out, um, because I think I know where my position comes from pretty well as an atheist. As an atheist, as a conservative, I'm sorry. Um, but I don't always understand where liberals come from, as where's the core of where your worldview radiates from. I don't understand that as well. I have a pretty good grasp on where my worldview comes from, but not always yours. But here's what I've kind of come up with. And tell me how close I am to the mark or how far off I am. But I got the idea from thinking about possessions and how we own things, and in ourselves. I think in legal circles they have the term personam jurisdiction. And again, I want to underscore the fact that I don't claim to have all this figured out. So I'm just kind of giving you these thoughts in unfinished form. I'm inviting you into the project before I have finished my thoughts completely on it. But it's still, I'm sharing it because it's just interesting thought, and it brings, it opens up some very intriguing discussions. So, and I wanted to create that kind of a dialogue, and I wanted to create that kind of maybe catalyze some thoughts inside of you. So, it had to do with the idea of possessions, and most especially, I forget how I really got here. I'm sure I'll remember as soon as my wife turns off the video recorder. I don't remember how I exactly got here, but I was thinking about possessions and the things that we own, and ourselves, and I kind of wanted to create this question that would maybe put a liberal in a box, and after I thought of the question, I thought, well, I'm not sure if that puts them in a box. I think it puts me in a box, because the question was, who owns you? Who do you belong to? Who do you belong to? Who does your body, who does your person, who does your thoughts, your energy, your passion, your intellect, who do those things belong to? Does it belong to you? Does it belong to your neighbor? Does it belong to God? Is it all yours? Is it all your neighbors? Is it all your gods? Is it all to be divvied up amongst the three? If so, in what proper proportion? Us Christians live by this credo. It's not really an official scriptural thing. It's kind of like this cliche that's been circulated around for a number of decades now. It says joy is spelled Jesus, others, yourself. It seems to put that idea that we're developing right now into a sequence of God comes first, and then my neighbor, and then myself last. But the reason why that's a critical question to ask is that when the government comes in and says, we have a right to your intellect, your passion, your energy, your time, your physical exertion, your toils, we have a right to all that is you, or a portion of it. We have a right to. I come back with the question, well, how and why? Based on what principle? How and why does the government have a right to all those things? And you say, well, what are you talking about? The government never claims they have possession of those things. And my answer back is, well, yes, they do. Because what do you call your work? Your production, as the Marxists call it. That is your work, right? That is an extension of you, that came out of your person. Your production is nothing more than an extension of you. The things that you produce are, in a sense, you. I mean, if you don't believe so, let me have you work on a model airplane for a month. And I want you to put wires to the sparks plugs with little threads. I want you to paint a little man and put him inside the cockpit. And I want you to detail out that engine. And I want you to detail out the cabin and make that thing so convincing that it could be in a Hollywood production. And then I want you to hand me a Louisville Slugger, put it in my hands, and let me go up to it and smash it and tell me you feel nothing. Well, if you felt something, well, why? Because a part of you is in that airplane. It's inescapable. Did I say escapable? I meant to say escapable. I hate people who say escapable. But it's inescapable that your toil, your effort, the thing that you receive compensation for in the form of money, it's part of you. And who does that belong to? Does it belong to the president? Does it belong to your neighbor? Does it belong to God? Does it belong exclusively to you? And of course, Marxism, communism, socialism, whatever you want to slice it as, it's all kind of like an iteration of slight variances of all the same thing. It's all this question of possession. Who does the self belong to? And who does your production belong to? And if you're a liberal, you believe that the collective lays claim to all that you are. If you're a pure Marxist, you believe that you really don't belong to you, that everything you have is up for grabs by the people around you. And of course, we Christians call that our neighbor, or the Bible does call that our neighbor. And if we can't lay claim over ourselves, or if as the Marxists say, that they lay claim on it, then we really don't belong to ourselves. Now, that's very interesting because the Bible says things very similar to that. Know ye not that ye are not your own, for you are bought with a price. We ought not to please ourselves, but to please our neighbor. It says in Romans chapter 15, I think. And many such things appear in the Bible, and certainly when not expressed implicitly, are expressed explicitly. So the question of possession occurs. Who do we belong to? Who does our toil belong to? And I'd be interested to hear what if you are of a liberal mindset. I'd like to hear your position. I mean, your position on it. I'm not even sure what I believe on it anymore. I know that here's what I've come up with. To be honest with you, here's what I've come up with. What I've come up with is that, yes, in fact, I do belong to my neighbor, and I do belong to God. If you don't, if you're an atheist, I'm not trying to, use that as a conversion tool. But okay, let's just say it's just our neighbor. Okay, that we belong to our neighbor. Okay. Because the Bible says so, and it says that we don't belong to ourselves. But the difference being is that I don't see where a governmental body comes into any of that. Yes, there's things in Romans chapter 13, and the first 6 verses or so there. I've read those passages myself. But I don't see where it says that the government has claim to me. says I have to obey the government, but even our government is headed by the Constitution, not by just people. So, more on that some other time though. But that's it for now.